Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Menachem Creditor. It's my honor to serve as scholar in residence and rabbi for UJA Federation of New York. We bring you Torah and music, blessing, and community every weekday. We've been doing so since March 18th, 2020. Today it is Friday, July 31st, 2026. It has been a blessing to be part of this community with all of you for 6 years, a bunch of months, a bunch of days, and here we find ourselves again ready to say good morning and learn some Torah. Bensi, it's good to see you. Kathleen and Deborah, Jonathan, Chana, and Daphne. Daphne, it's so nice to see you. Penny thanks it's broadcast 1603. Jonathan, good to see you. Linda and Rosa, Cecile and Barry. Rosa, sending love to you in Malta. I hope that you are doing well. We haven't spoken in a while. Susie and Lydia, Deborah and Cecile. Hi, Carl. Good to see all of you. Let's take a second, breathe, sing a bracha, and then we'll learn some Torah. Hi, Julie. Hi, Dale. Patricia and Arlene, good to see you. Arlene, that was a lovely photo of you and some of our other 9 o'clockers last night. That was a nice picture to receive. Thanks for it. Hi, George. Hi, Barbara. Everybody. It's good to see you. Getting ready for Shabbos. I hope that all of you are doing well, getting ready for Shabbat. Malta, Rosa, I'm so glad the weather's a little bit more pleasant. I'm glad you're feeling a little bit better. It's good to see everybody. Let's get to it. Parshat Ekev is part of the book of Devarim, of Deuteronomy, and as I've shared a bunch of times, and I keep on reinforcing it because it is part of the love I believe we should have for Torah, and that I think Torah has for us. The chance to understand that Moshe is telling his life story, which is, of course, our peoplehood story, from the moment of freedom from Egypt, which, of course, he is instrumental in. He gets the chance at the end of his life to tell that story again. Now, there are crucial differences, mostly in emotional tone, and sometimes in hearing the way that Moshe kind of slips between saying I, Moshe, and I, God. Perhaps that's because toward the end of his life, he feels himself reuniting with his source. Perhaps it's because mortality makes him even more sharply aware that he is a servant of the divine and not the divine himself. Perhaps what is happening is that, as all of us do as we age, we look back and the way we remember things is very much based on the way we remember things. It's not the same as reading a history. It's reading someone's reflections. We're sort of getting a glimpse into the diary Moshe wrote at the end of his life. And that is a very interesting glimpse into one of our greatest teachers and heroes. And so when he shares his emotions, as happens throughout the book of Deuteronomy, it is telling for us. And in fact, there is a section where he is reminding us, and by us I mean the second generation. He's going to be talking about the golden calf, the Egel HaZahav. And if you know your Torah, the Egel HaZahav did not occur including the people that Moshe is now speaking to. That was the first generation, the survivors of Egypt, the survivors of enslavement. He's now speaking to second generation survivors as if they are the first generation. And instead of worrying about Moshe's cognitive abilities, what we have to understand is the second generation receives the legacy of the first generation, just as we stand on the shoulders of giants, understanding ourselves better through knowing our history so that we can make wise decisions move forward. And so here we are hearing Moshe, and just a paragraph from Deuteronomy 9. This is verses 7 and 8, and then 13 through 19. So just listen to the paragraph and listen for tone. Remember, never forget how you provoked your God to anger in the wilderness. From the day that you left Egypt until you reached this place, you have continued defiant toward God. At Horeb, the mountain, Mount Sinai, you provoked God that God was angry enough with you to have destroyed you. God further said to me, I see that this is a stiff-necked people. Let me alone, and I will destroy them and blot out their name from under heaven. And I will make you a nation far more numerous than they. I started down the mountain, a mountain ablaze with fire, the 2 tablets of the covenant in my 2 hands. I saw how you sinned against your God. You had made yourselves a molten calf. You had been quick to stray from the path that God had enjoined upon you. Thereupon, I gripped the 2 tablets and flung them away with both my hands. Smashing them before your eyes, I threw myself down before God, eating no bread and drinking no water, 40 days and 40 nights as before, because of the great wrong you had committed, doing what displeased and vexed God. For I was in dread of the fierce anger against you, which moved God to wipe you out. And that time too, God gave heed to me. This is so important because for us to understand not only what happened, but how Moshe felt when it happened, or maybe even more carefully, how Moshe remembers having felt at that moment. And you can read Moshe's self-description in countless ways, but the purpose, according to Moshe, of his actions was out of anger, and an anger that he understood in God. He had to shock God out of God's anger. But the way that he did it was to thrust the tablets down, to throw them down, not drop them, throw them down, and not eat and not drink, and throw himself on the ground. If we were describing a young child, that would look like a tantrum. I'm not reducing Moshe, I'm honoring him by saying he set himself in a position to demand all of God's attention so that God would not punish us for what we did. That's chapter 9, Rose, of the book of Deuteronomy, verses 7 and 8, 13 through 19. And that makes what happens next very important. Very, very important. Because here we are, and we're about to hear a comment on chapter 10, verse 1, just after this. The verse itself in Hebrew, Ba'it hahi amar Adonai elai, psol lechas shnei luchot avanim karishanim, va'alei elai hahara, ve'asita lecha aron eitz. Here's the translation. Thereupon God said to me, carve out 2 tablets of stone like the first, and come up to me on the mountain, make an ark of wood. Remember how Moshe said that he treated the tablets. He said that he thrust them out of his hands. And the translation here is, thereupon God said to me, carve out 2 tablets of stone like the first. Carve, use your hands. And there's a wonderful comment here. The comment is by the Or HaChaim, great commentary on the Torah, who says, seeing that the materials for the first tablets were God-made, as opposed to the raw material being provided by Moses, and that after the episode of the golden calf, the Israelites were no longer worthy of such tablets, God told Moses to hew them out of materials that the Israelites were able to relate to. instead of God providing supernatural materials unfamiliar to the people, which they were unable to relate to and to esteem properly. I'm putting together the comment of the Or HaChaim and the verses we've read to say something, which is that our bodies must be involved in the way we receive and transmit Torah. The purity of the tablets that God first created, those first tablets, they were not relatable according to the Or HaChaim. And that's not to blame for our sins, but how different it is for us to be co-creators of our covenantal responsibilities, to have in our hands and to make with our hands the vessel for transmission itself. It doesn't make us God, but it makes Torah relatable. It brings the divine just a little bit closer to this world so that we can raise this world just a little bit closer to the way it could be. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing to see the gift that the broken tablets offer. They teach us, through God's follow-up instruction to Moshe, that the anger is pure and perhaps warranted. But the only way we will ever learn to move forward through time and to get it right this time around is to take hold of the creative process ourselves, to be instruments of revelation, to know that for us to get it right, we have to have skin in the game. This Torah requires our ongoing, not just receiving, but our owning it and helping carve out a path for it to move forward in and for this world, which means it needs to also be of this world. A Torah of this world is the way forward. Moshe is concerned at the end of his life that we will forget it all. And we prove him right over and over again by being a stiff-necked people in every generation of Jew that has ever been. But what a gift it is to learn from all of these lessons, to see commentators in their own way exalt human capacity, and to remind us what we can be. We can be not just recipients of Torah, but co-creators. What a gift. Let's send our hearts to the east, friends, as we're getting ready for Shabbos. Let's sing. Kol od balevav penima nefesh Yehudi homia ulefatei mizrach kadima ayin letzion Sophia Od lo avda tikvateinu hatikva bat shnot alpayim liot am chofshi be'artzeinu Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim liot am chofshi be'artzeinu Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim. Am Yisrael Chai. Shabbat Shalom, friends. See you on Monday.